Hello everyone, my name is Ren with a Pen, and welcome back to my Tavern of Treacherous TTRPG tales. Today we are going to be looking at a post under the subreddit of RPG horror stories by Reddit user Runeo the Larias. Something that I'm sure we can all relate to. Today's topic is the wizard can't let anyone else have fun. As someone who played in a campaign with just the one guy who just won't let anyone else have fun, I kind of feel a kinship to this, and I'm sure plenty of us can. But with all that out of the way, let's begin with the story. This has been a cumulative frustrating over the last several months, and I feel like it was enough to put it out there. Definitely not the worst of horror stories, and I'm sure that guy of the situation is a perfectly fine dude outside of D&D. I've almost never talked to him outside of the game, but the way he acts is just obnoxious. I wasn't part of this campaign from the beginning, so I cannot attest to whether or not there was a Session 0. But as far as I've been told, the DM was very clear about the combat/roleplay balance the game was going to be. During what was more or less part 1 of the campaign, he was apparently just fine, but for whatever reason, when part 2 rolled around, he suddenly became a lot less fun to play with. Characters: me, DM, Warlock, Bard, Rogue, Paladin, and the problem player, Wizard. The first major incident that I was told about happened a while before I joined. There was a village suffering from an unknown disease that couldn't be magically cured, and the party discovered that what was more or less patient 0 was holed up in a cave. So of course they want to find him, kill him, and use him is some way I'm not sure of, again, wasn't there, to make a cure for the infected villagers. Now how could you possibly fuck this up? Even a wild fireball would at least leave some of the necessary things to throw together a cure. They didn't have access to anything that could permanently move him to another plane, so really they just had to kill him however they could, right? One word: disintegrate. He managed to find the one and only easy way they could have royally fucked up the situation, and lo and behold, he killed the thing with it. So all that was left at their one and only chance for a cure was now a pile of dust on the floor of the cave. After this, he asked over and over again to roll Arcana so he can figure out a cure, despite there being literally nothing left for him to check. Nothing except for one little thing, which was likely just a product of the DM not wanting this to be a complete and total failure, just because of the stupid decision of one player. Some blood and fur on the sword of one of the other party members. Only enough to make a few cures, not nearly enough to cure everyone who's infected, which now included some of their own. Then there's a pretty big gap, a few months I think, between that incident and when I joined. If I were to go into significant detail with every time he's done something annoying since I came in, I'd be writing a full-length novel here. So here's the basic gist of the smaller, less game-impacting moments. Constantly bragging about, essentially, his ability to cast Fireball. He's literally that wizard. It's all he ever casts. Fireball, Fireball. Oh, Firebolt! Another Fireball. On top of his bragging, he doesn't even have to worry about us when he's casting it. I'm not familiar with wizards at all, but apparently he can cast shaped fireballs, which means he gets all the damage of the spell with none of the drawbacks. Always acting like we would be nothing without him, if he's not saying something along the lines of, "You guys would have been totally dead if I wasn't there." It's always something like, "So how toasty do you want these guys?" Or, "Don't worry, once it's my turn, all these guys will be ash." That last one being a particular repeat offender, often after anyone says anything out loud trying to strategize in combat. Finally, calling back to the mention of the RP combat balance already being discussed, clearly, he shows absolutely zero interest in anything going on that isn't fighting. 80% of the time, the only ones engaging in roleplay are me, Paladin, or Rogue. Warlock and Bard are just sort of very quiet people in general, though, and they at least engage occasionally. Wizard, on the other hand, quite literally never has anything to say about the situation at hand, unless the subject of killing someone comes up. Take a wild guess what his number one suggestion is. And as the cherry on top of that, almost every single session, he doesn't even try to hide the fact that he's doing something else. We've heard of video games, anime, seen what he was playing via Discord, through which we play, etc. And constantly letting out loud, obnoxious sighs whenever he's not melting everything in sight. TLDR, Wizard has an inflated ego over his ability to cast Shaped Fireball, talks about how we'd be dead without him, treats us as if we don't matter in combat, and never pays attention to anything else. The DM has talked to him about his behavior a few times, but is hesitant to kick him out despite his lack of shaping up, due to most of the group having been friends with him for a long time. Though I think we're all kind of teetering on the edge point, and something's going to get said to him in a much less polite way one of these days, if he keeps it up. Well, that was certainly interesting. Like I said, I'm sure we've all had that one player, in particular, that one wizard, who makes playing the game a bit less entertaining. But I hope that he either shapes up for the benefit of the rest of the party, or is kicked out for the benefit of the rest of the party, whether he's your friend or not. Moral of the story, don't be that guy. Don't be that wizard who's all cocky, and if you're joining a campaign that is roleplay heavy or a good mix of roleplay and combat, participate in both. That's all from me. I'll see you all tomorrow for the next story. The next horror story. Goodbye.